Happy New Year to each of you out there, and welcome to episode 16 of the Brewed Sages, Stormbound players with a head for the game. I am Freeloader, and with me as always are my co-hosts, Subaiku and Arthis. Subaiku, Happy New Year, and how's it going tonight?
Fantastic.
And Arthis, Happy New Year to you too, and how are you doing?
I am doing very great. Happy New Year to everyone here.
Well, we are the Brewed Sages, and as a reminder, you can always contact us at Brewed Sages on Twitter. Or for all of you who used to wear Ocean Pacific clothes, our email address is thebrewedsages@gmail.com. So guys, new season, in fact, new year. How's it been so far?
Well, New Year. We just got the new balance changes and stuff, which we'll get more into later. But I've been having so much fun with the new changes. Honestly, they're like pretty big ones, actually.
And Subaiku, how about you? Anything exciting going on?
Yeah, I've been upgrading some cards, playing some new decks. Really, this is the first time that I'm able to have more cards at level 4 and play competitively on ladder with some things that I thought were good ideas or things I saw my opponent doing that looked like fun. So I'm actually really thrilled with the way this year has started.
Ooh, that's pretty exciting. I have been working with the Magi to perfect my Ironclad aggro. It's definitely a different sort of style of play for me than Shadowfen aggro, as odd as that sounds. But the deck is working out really well. Huge thanks to him for his help. And part of the reason why it's been a little funky figuring it out is because, well, linked golems started behaving a little differently a couple of days ago, and that brings us into our balance changes. So how are they going? Subaiku, I'll go right back to you first, and then we'll go to Arthis. How do you think the balance changes are going?
I got to say, I think that they are fantastic. Linked golems, I have also used a little bit, playing more of a control-ish Mia true shot siege assembly kind of deck. It's still very powerful. I'm still trying to find it. I'm still trying to set it up and play it every chance I get. I do not have any concerns with the power level. I think it's working really well. I have not messed around with the chilled stone dames, but I've had it used against me actually to great success when I'm playing that Ironclad deck. For real. Somebody else in the Discord was playing with the new card and definitely got me with it a couple of times just because he was able to, even if the first unit in the column was too strong, he was able to just chip it down and knock out multiple units. And, as I expected, if it even gets one unit, it's worth it. However, it's still not easy to set up, and I don't think it's going to end up being widely used because of that.
Now, you say your units were in a column. Does that mean that at the time you were playing some sort of Zuri swarm deck?
No, this was with the Ironclad.
Okay.
With the Ironclad deck, trying to work off of linked golems, fortification, tonic, upgrade point.
Yeah, upgrade point makes a lot of like those units fall into a column.
Yep. So it was a good counter to that kind of strategy, but because of the difficulty setting it up, like I said, I don't think that you'll see it everywhere. And the mana change is significant. Up from 4 to 5 mana. You can't really discount that.
Yeah. And Arthis, how about you? Any of the balance changes that you are playing around with?
Oh yeah, my favorite balance changes were the dragon ones. The one with Zuri, and especially the Sunbeam Serpents. I spent, what is it? Because I've been playing dragon decks for quite a while now. By quite a while, I mean like several weeks in a row. Because I finally leveled up my dragons, and they're so much fun. And you guys already heard about like my Drago deck. Also have a video on YouTube for it. But that one's going really well. But it's amazing because now I tried out Shadowfen Dragons for the first time, and my initial like 9 hours of experience on it, I was like, oh my god, Shadowfen Dragons are still a freaking joke. They're absolute trash. I was, because I have expectations for them because I've been playing Swarm Dragons and Ironclad Dragons, both of those being really really strong, and I was like playing it the same way with Shadowfen Dragons. It was just so different and so unreliable. I was like so close to giving up. I was so frustrated even when I was like streaming. I was like, oh man, why am I like putting myself through this? But listen, this is the best part. I actually I figured it out. I learned how to balance the deck, how to cycle the decks, and I have a very viable I call it a chunk beam deck. It's basically focused on putting down a lot of really powerful Sunbeam Serpents, and that's with the Spare Dragonling and the Potion of Growth.
What?
Potion of Growth also
Oh,
being changed. Yeah,
interesting.
you think it started off as a meme deck, okay? Because you're like, wow, what are you doing, Shadow and Dragons with Potion of Growth, right? And Sunbeam Serpents. But I'm actually getting some serious success with it. I also play it with Cordia because that's one of the best Shadow and Dragons.
Oh yeah.
It's working out so well, and I'm like so proud. I was so close to giving up, and I've just been playing it every single times. Basically since the update landed, and I'm having so much fun. I'm gonna be showcasing it on YouTube too.
Ooh, I can't wait to see that. All right, pretty cool. So, so we've had a Chilled Stone Dames sighting. That's pretty exciting. And I assume both of you have played some of the Zuri style Vitality decks. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So Arthis was promoting that last month, and you can see his YouTube on that. It still works just as well. I took that and I kind of messed around with it a little bit, and I went in a different direction, a little more mid-rangey, and took out the Vindicators and put in Bucks of Wasteland.
Ooh, good choice.
I wanted to double up on the buffing. I figure, look, I'm making all these units on the board and trying to land a buff on them from Surrey. Why not put something else that works in the same manner? And it is just a ridiculous amount of fun to play with. When nothing moves, playing defense is hard. Something you do have to worry about. The Dark Harvest helps there for sure. But it's definitely a lot of fun to play, and it might be the deck that I've been playing the most this month.
That sounds like a ton of fun for sure.
I've also been having so much fun with Broken Truce. A lot of people are thinking it's really underwhelming because for some reason I don't know why they keep putting it in Aaron decks. Like that's the first mistake. Don't put it in Aaron decks.
No.
Horrible idea. Don't do that. I put it in the Zuri deck that I use, and it was actually the perfect like cherry on the cake on that deck because that deck struggles against like really hard rush and like really large units.
Yep.
Broken Truth solves both of those problems, and not like Broken Truth with now spreading the spare damage. It can wipe out some serious rush pushes. When you target something really weak near them, it just blows everything up. And it's amazing because that Zuri deck also has like Doppelbox and Spare, both of them being very, very weak in strength, only 2 mana. Comboing it with Broken Truce is like an insane toxic sacrifice. It's amazing.
So what about the there were also some quality of life improvements. How are we liking the new scroll bar?
It just makes it so much easier to flip through and get to where you're going. I would like maybe some sort of visual indicator other than just a page number, because it's hard to know, am I landing in the 4 mana page, the 5 mana page? But that's my only small complaint about it. I think it's working great. And there's a bunch of other little quality of life changes that we haven't even talked about. They've been slowly adding a bunch of animations, just like when you look at the tomes in the shop, they gleam, they glitter.
I know, they look cool now.
There's a bunch of, for lack of a better word, there's a bunch of polish now in the game that just makes it just visually a lot more appealing and makes it look a little more refined, and I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, I have to say, I've been playing almost exclusively on my phone over the holidays because, family and stuff. I don't really have time to set up my laptop. But I set up my laptop yesterday, I think, for the first time in a while. And the snow animation just on the home screen
right?
was so nice. And it's so silly for me to be so stoked about it. But at the same time, I opened it. I was like, whoa, this is cool. I 100% agree that the scroll bar at the bottom should tell you either your mana that you're on or the level if you're sorting by levels, so that you have some better indicator other than page number. Because I don't really memorize the page number that certain cards are on. That's just not me.
Yeah, it makes it a bit annoying that it doesn't render the page as you're scrolling, but I know that might be a bit difficult to implement so quickly based on the way the pages are programmed already. But another complaint I have, and this isn't that big, but like everyone's, we're talking about the scroll bar being very convenient, but I really wish they had it when you're actually building a deck. That's when I need it, not when I'm looking through
Oh,
my
that's so
collection.
true. Yeah,
It's a great,
true too.
great point.
Yeah, it would be really nice then for sure. It's like, all right, I'm building all this cheap stuff, and then I just need Cordia. Where? Oh, flip. Yeah. So that's our lead in for today. The next segment we're going to talk about is news, and there's actually quite a bit of news for considering it's only been a couple of days in the new year. First and foremost, ownership of the game has formally passed now from Paladin Studios to Sheepyard. Sheepyard now owns it 100%, purchased it from Paladin. Guys, what do you think? Arthis, what do you think this impact's going to be?
I think this is great because now they can really have full access to like every single resource or anything else that involves the game and really take it into like the next level, right? And I mean, especially if they make such a big purchase as of like buying the rights to a game, right? That makes them really want to keep investing in the game. I mean, you want to make sure your investment is good, right? And so that's really good for us because they're really gonna put way more effort into the game now because this is a big investment they're making, and also it gives them a lot of power for like what kind of things and like changes and features they could implement to the game. So I'm really excited what they do with this like new power.
All right, and Subaiku, what do you think?
Yeah, I've got to agree with everything Arthur said. It's now theirs. They can allocate more resources to it. They can grow it in whichever way they want. Like it's a whole new level of control. We've already talked about. We really like the balance changes, the shop changes. Just a lot more value than you used to get in a lot more events than you used to get. They've really been heavily involved in making these improvements to the game. I'm happy to see that now it's their baby and they can grow it in whichever way they think is reasonable, because so far their judgment seems to have been pretty good.
Yeah, we have no actual insight whatsoever as to the sort of the health of the game and the growth of the game, right? It just in general, we're outsiders. Nobody seems to really know aside from obviously people at Sheepyard and Paladin. My initial reaction to this was, well, the game's growing, because if I have, just on paper, if I have an agreement with Subaiku where I'm doing something, I've taken over something that he used to do and we profit share my work. If that is working out for everybody's benefit, fine, great, we hold steady. If it's not doing so well and I'm making less money every month, maybe I cancel the agreement. But the only time I look to actually buying it out from Subaiku is in a situation where it's getting bigger and better and I want more of it, right? Like it speaks to how, in theory at least, we don't know, but in theory it speaks to how excited Sheepyard is about the game, about the future of it, that they want to own it completely because they see it skyrocketing. And I'm very excited about that. Subaiku, you touched on something real quick that maybe we should have mentioned in the quality of life improvements, but as it is kind of news as well for January, we'll discuss it right here, and that is that the promotions, the economy of the game is changing. There are now new gifts that you get every day for just logging in. And if you want to pay up front for a premium experience for the game for the month, you can get super gifts. Now, I don't know about you, but I paid for it because they're fantastic. But what do you think about this?
It's a great value. If you're looking to put some money into the game, I would definitely recommend doing it this way. For me, I like that it's a nice all-around little bit of everything. You get some cards, you get some coins, you get some rubies, you get some fusion stones, and it's not a staggering amount of any of those, but it's enough to help you grow your collection just a little bit faster. So I will likely keep investing in it also, as long as they keep running it and as long as I feel like I need the additional resources, which, to be fair, is kind of always.
Yeah, this game is now, as far as I'm concerned, baseline a $60 a year habit for me, because I will do the same. Arthis, what do you think?
Rookie numbers. I mean, I definitely paid for the premium pass because it's so worth when you look at the overall rewards you get from it. Like Stormbound Kitty really summarizes it really well. Like comparing the premium and the free one. Like just looking at the fusion stones, because those are the big ones. The free one is just 7 fusion stones for an entire month. Sure. I mean, pretty nice that it's free, right? But with the premium pass, that's 21 extra fusion stones. And I mean the price now for the premium pass is like much cheaper than the one during the advent calendar.
Yep, you do get less for it, but you get more than half of what it was last month. It's even a better value than it was last month.
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch on something that you said there, though, Arthis, which is the free tier still gives you stuff. It still gives you additional resources. It's still nice that you can just log into the game that you're playing anyway and get some free stuff and feel like you are appreciated and not that you're forced to pay to unlock rewards. If you choose to pay, you get additional rewards, but you get lesser quantity, but all the same stuff.
Yeah, of course. I don't want to give the wrong message that this is like underwhelming or anything. That is very far from true. But I'm just saying it's really tempting to actually invest in the game now because of that.
Yeah, there's just something really nice about getting to open up the game every day, which I want to do anyway, but being rewarded for doing so, right? Like there's just some sort of, hey, we recognize that this game needs me as much as it needs you kind of a thing, right? Because the game at the end of the day requires people playing it for us to be able to queue into an opponent on ladder, right? So there's just something just sort of mutually beneficial about all of us kind of celebrating, hey, you opened up the game today, thanks, we all kind of need you, jump on ladder if you can, if you can't, that's cool, just build up your library till you feel confident to do it. But thanks for stopping by, thanks for being part of this. I love it. It just, I don't know, it feels right to me, and I like that's the direction they're taking it. Moving on from the ownership information and our new sort of daily rewards, the tournament's still going on, right? We thought it was going to end by the end of the year.
No, that was group play that ended by the end of the year.
Gotcha. And how did that work out? Subaiku, how'd you do in group play?
I went undefeated in my group, and I made it out of group play, which was fantastic. It was a nice little bit of validation. I had never been in a tournament before. I had never really played equals for any period of time other than like a game or two. So it was nice to do something different. Once I got out of group play and faced against one of the better players in Helios, I promptly got completely destroyed and lost 0-2, and now I am eliminated. So that was a little bit of a reality check. After feeling so good in group play, to get stomped so badly right afterward was a healthy experience for my ego. That's how I'll say it. But it was a lot of fun.
And Arthis, how's it going with you?
Yeah, actually watched. I've spectated that match between Subaiku and Helios. Helios, by the way, one of the top equals players out there. So I mean, you still put up one heck of a fight. Those are long games, Subaiku. Helios just pulled off some serious outplays though. But for me, the group stage was very like quiet. That's not the case for like most tournaments. It's not this bad, but this is just one of those times. Easily, I got out of the group stage. I had to fight also Dirk in the knockout stages in the top 16. And Dirk, by the way, is like up there in the equals rankings, either first or second place. But yeah, I took one game from him, but he took the rest of them from me. So I also got eliminated. Very big sad for the Brewed Sages representatives.
Not our best showing.
That's okay. We made it out of pool play, and everybody had fun involved, right?
Oh yeah, definitely very fun.
Perfect. So that's still going on. We'll keep an eye on it, and as soon as we have more news to tell everybody about the semifinals and finals, we will do so. The next thing, a new kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, a play style or just sort of a thing to do. Speed runs. Arthis, what is a Stormbound speed run?
Yeah, so the community is starting to find some kind of excitement for speedrunning Stormbound, and people are probably wondering, like, how could you speedrun Stormbound? Like, where does it start? Where does it end? Right? Reckless Rush, very good guy that we interviewed a couple episodes ago, I think.
Oh no,
Was it the previous one?
It was last episode.
Man. I count the episodes by weeks. I know we skipped one. Right. Yeah, Reckless. He's at first he did an unofficial speedrun to Silver 5. He streamed this as well, so a lot of viewers were watching him and cheering him on. And the Mad Lad actually got to Silver 5 with a completely fresh account in just under 2 hours, like 1 or 2 minutes under 2 hours. That's pretty ridiculous if you ask me. Further on from that, a couple days ago, Reckless and Helios, they decided to speedrun with fresh accounts again, fresh new accounts, to go all the way from starter to bronze 5. And that was quite a wild race, honestly. Both of them had very interesting plans to go about it. Reckless, he decided to complete I don't remember if complete, but he played a significant amount of the Swarm campaign to get his, Reckless Rush cards. But Helios, he just went straight for it, I think. He went straight into the starter with, the starter deck, and he had, Soul Crushers in it. And he got quite a significant lead in the beginning with that, because Reckless was still doing the campaign, and that was really, really funny. And Reckless was really nervous, but then eventually Helios slowed down. Reckless kind of caught up. Reckless unfortunately kind of lost some connection for 6 minutes or so. Kind of sad, but at the end of it, Helios won the race to bronze 5 at 1 hour 28 minutes 49 seconds. Reckless came in second with just about 12 minutes after that. So it was pretty exciting to watch, but it's really cool. I think Reckless is trying to make these speedruns actually official in speedrun.com, I believe. Don't remember the full details, but people are finding some appeal in this. Some people want to try it out.
Yeah, I think sometime this year, and I haven't had the chance to talk to my fellow Brewed Sages about this yet, so I'm pitching it to you guys right now. What do you guys think about us doing a Brewed Sages speed run for charity?
For
Sometime this
charity.
year? Yeah. Basically, just try to do a speed run, like a 2-hour kind of speed run at some point this year, and we try to get people to sponsor us to be the fastest sort of a thing for a charity. I don't know when we'd be able to do it, but I just feel like kind of one of the next things that would be great for the Brewed Sages to do this year is maybe try to do a fundraiser at some point for a charity. And the speed run just seems like the perfect way to do that. It just seems like a really fun and interactive, and our sponsors can come into Discord and cheer us on, kind of a thing. It just seems like it'd be a real fun thing. I don't know how we'd be able to do it. We all have to do it simultaneously to really make it exciting. So we have to find a Friday night or something where none of us are doing anything.
Well, how exciting is that going to be to watch when we're all just playing Shadowfen?
I'll actually be going Ironclad. Thank you very much. Trying to get that Embers and then just poke.
There you go.
Level 1 Embers. I love it. Going for it. All right. So with that, it was a long opening, but there's a lot of news going on, so pretty fun. We wanted to dedicate some time today for you listeners out there who have decided that part of your, new year, new you, if your goals for 2021 include being better at Stormbound, we want to continue our series in discussing sort of second level or even third level tactics and strategies to make you the best player possible. Now, this conversation was actually inspired by a game I had against Evil Deck, believe it or not, yesterday. The game was weird because I was playing that very aggressive Ironclad deck I've been playing, and he was playing a Winter Pack deck, which at first I had no read on. But just my initial reaction was, well, Winter Pack normally outvalues Ironclad, so I'm the beatdown, right? And we've talked about this before, guys, when we were talking about archetypes, is that in every matchup, there's usually a beatdown and a control deck. There's, whether or not you're playing a control deck, if you're not as aggressive as your opponent's deck is, you have to play a controlling style to try to win because you can't outrace the more aggressive deck. So I made the identification right away that I must be the beatdown in this because I'm the aggressive Ironclad deck. Also, my deck tops out with Windmakers at 4. There's no way I can play defense. But I opened with a hand, guys, that was literally Unstable, Hysteria, Windmakers, and Destructobots on going first. And so, or sorry, not Destructobots, Recruits. So I had to play Recruits and nothing else into his opener, which was 2/2 drops. And it started snowballing from there because he got into the, that crazy Icicle Burst Yavanna style turn, and things were going really bad for me. I recognized early on, because of those poor hands for me and great hands for him, that I needed to play control for a little bit of time, right? And this is kind of what made me, it popped in my head that, gosh, we should have a conversation about this, because there are times where even though you're the aggro deck, maybe you're in a rush versus rush mirror, or a control versus control mirror, right? One of the two of you has to play aggressively. You can't both just sit back and try to control each other. And so identifying sometimes the moment that you have to play the wrong style for your deck in order to win is, I think, one of those next level keys to being a top level player. Subaiku, we've saw a lot of this back in Hearthstone in mirror matches, where you kind of had to identify because which one of you went first, like in a tempo rogue matchup or something, right? There was indicators to tell you when you had to play the wrong style. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with your first indication, which is who goes first. Now, you do have extra mana when you go second. You start with 4 instead of 3, and that might actually be an advantage for some decks. But in general, if you're playing a rush mirror, whoever goes first is going to have an advantage. And the second you alluded to earlier, the draw of your hand. If you just whiff on your draw and your opening hand is 6/5/4/4 mana, you don't even have anything you can play for 3, you can't take advantage of the opportunity that you have going first. And you might need to stop and think, okay, I have to be more conservative. I have to try to stave off their aggression and come back down the road rather than, hit the gas and go hard right out of the gates like I want to.
So, Arthis, I got really lucky in my game, because on turn 5 mana for me, I managed to clear his front and push him back. He had 1 unit near his baseline. And his response was to play a True Shot Tower. So there was this clear delineation indicator where he went for a pure value turn, where suddenly I thought, aha, he's actually a control deck. I need to switch to being the beatdown again. Are there any other times that you can think of where you've been playing sort of defensively with a deck and you're trying to make the determination of, when do I stop playing defense? Can I afford to play defense any longer? Or is it just time to hit the gas and go?
I definitely find myself in a lot of those situations, since I'm putting a lot of time into learning mid-range decks. Mid-range being the middle of the spectrum between rush and control. So sometimes I find myself leaning towards rush or leaning towards control, depending on the matchup. And it's really important to have that, because, for example, with my Zuri deck, that one's mainly a mid-range deck. But let's say I go against a Winter player who's playing like Winter Heal, like with Ulf and Underground Spring. That's not enough for me. Like, that's really, really scary to deal with, because my simple like Zuri type of approach is not going to be enough to beat that kind of base heal and the kind of value Winter has. So sometimes I actually really have to go on a full aggressive mode, like dodging their units, putting things on their baseline as often as possible, trying to think about what kind of spells would counter me. And it's quite a change of pace, but it really makes a difference in the games, and this is how I win against matchups like that. And similarly, if I go against like a rush, someone with like really hard swarm rush, I need to start playing more control. I need to start blocking my second row with something like Edric or my Doppelbox, and then setting up for next turn harvests, which are usually not what you want to do with a deck like the Zuri deck. You want to be able to play a unit and then Dark Harvest, but sometimes when you're forced to play control, you want to set up your units in a way where even if you only play Dark Harvest, it's enough to give you a lot of value. And that kind of like dynamic switching, I find really, really exciting, because I know it adds an extra layer of depth into the game, and it takes a while to learn to find that balance. Because I know a lot of people like Rush, but it's hard for them to really like notice when to like switch to defense or something, unless it's actually threatening the game. But it's actually a pretty big significance. Like Freeloader mentioned, he's playing an aggro deck, but then if he straight up only went aggro, pretty sure he would have lost. But he actually took the investment to play a bit more control, and he managed to swing the tide that way. And pretty nice adaptation And that's really the kind of things you find that are very, very hard to notice when you're playing against people or watching videos. But these are the kind of things we want to highlight in the depth of the Stormbound game and strategy. And this is what makes the game really, really exciting.
It really does. And like I said, I got lucky in mine because there were clear delineations, and after seeing enough of the cards, I knew exactly what I was going up against. To Arthas's point, if I just pushed, if I went around the 2 units that he played up front and tried to go aggressive, he did have Frost Hexers. He did have the 6 mana free spell. Help me out here real quick.
5 mana Moment's Peace.
Moment's Peace, thank you. I was going to get delayed, and I was going to give up a lot of damage to my face. Worse than that, once he set up the True Shot Tower, there was no way, if I had to start playing defense, there was no way I was going to be able to win from that point, right? I had to clear first and then become the aggressor. Seeing that Giovanna turn, I knew that I was going to get outvalued late game. I had to win before that got there. There are times where you're playing in a matchup and it's not as obvious what your opponent is doing, or even a situation where it's a nearly identical matchup. Like for example, Subaiku, I'll throw this out there. If you're playing that Zuri Swarm deck and you play into a Zuri Swarm deck, how do you make a determination on whether to try to be the aggressor or the beatdown? Like, how do you play that in a way to give yourself the maximum advantage to win?
Great question, because I had a match just yesterday or the day before against a guy on the Discord, King Kron, but it was a fantastic game, and I went second, which I think is an advantage with the Zuri deck, because if you get your Zuri off first, you have just more on the board than they can deal with, and they feel like they have to play defense as opposed to ignore it and play their own Zuri. What really worked for me in that game was that I denied him good Zuri value. I could see that he was trying to set up his units in a column, and one change that I made, Arthis, that you don't have in your deck is I took out the Dreadful Keepers and put in Brothers in Arms.
Ooh.
Not leaning into the dragon synergy the same way, but just spawning more tokens, and I was able to actually block off the rest of the column with units that don't move. So he had nowhere to play Zuri, and that ended up actually just being the key that won the game, I think, because I could see what his strategy was, and admittedly with Zuri, the positioning is pretty telegraphing. It's not
It
subtle.
really is.
But I could see what he was trying to do, and I had the tool in my deck to stop it, and that let me play mine first. Now, all of a sudden, to your point, Freeloader, I realized, if I'm playing mine first, that makes me the aggressor. So let's go. Let's get down these buffs. Let's put overwhelming strength on the board, and then if he tries to go around it, I can put something like Bucks in the way, and now all of a sudden that's lethal pressure at his baseline. He has to respond to it. It's not always so clear cut in playing a deck that is flexible. I mean, that's one of the things that we've talked about with our Shadowfen Rush deck that we like so much, right? Shadowfen has tools like Witches and Toxic Sacrifice that can be used offensively or defensively. If you get behind, you can play it. If you start poorly, you can play it in such a way that you deal with the opponent's pressure and continue to advance your front and build your board. Playing decks that are flexible, I hate to go back to deck building, but it's a really significant part of it. Recognize what the weaknesses are of the deck, and then kind of realize, do I want to shore that up, or do I want to just play into the strengths of the deck even harder and accept that there are some times I'm going to get behind and I just can't turn it around and win? I'm not saying that there's a right or wrong answer there. It's just something that you have to think about when you're building the deck. You can't have a tool for every situation. There's only 12 slots. So make sure that you're thinking really hard about every single one and why you're putting it in there and what it's designed to do.
Okay, so whenever you're building a new deck or you're fixing your deck, I really suggest doing what I call limit testing. Figuring out when you find yourself in situations where it's a bit hard to choose how you want to go about things. Like, for example, there's units on your second row that are starting to pressure you, and it's hard to choose whether to defend or go completely aggro. What I call limit testing is go on the far ends of the spectrum and test it out. See how far does it take you. Like for example, with me and my Sunbeam deck that I've been making, I did a lot of limit testing in terms of how well can this deck can really control and clear the board. And I really tried to embrace the control side of the spectrum of the playstyle, and seeing how strong it really puts me through. Noticing that sometimes it does make you lose a decent amount of games, but it's not a full loss because you're getting a lot of information from them. Like with me, I realized that with my Sunbeam deck, it was really hard to play some really good control. So after I realized that and evaluated that, now in the next step of limit testing, let's go on the other side of the spectrum. Let's see how far Rush can go. And then when I did that with the same deck, no changes in cards by the way, but just changing the way your playstyle is and the way your priorities are set, it actually shifts some of those blurry decision making that you were used to seeing, and it makes it clear what you want to do when you go to those ends of the spectrum. And when you experiment to see what kind of value and what kind of success you find, you realize which ends are more favorable for your deck. So I really suggest that you guys do this with all of your decks or all of your new cards that you're trying out. Do this kind of limit testing. Do the different ways you can play the card defensively, offensively, greedy, or conservative. Try those different perspectives and play styles, and just see how far each of those take you. And then you'll realize which one's more favorable.
All right, excellent. And moving on from there, we're actually introducing a new topic that we're going to try to do weekly. I'm actually very excited about it because I pitched this to Subaiku when we got started with this, and he was less than enthusiastic. But now that we have Arthis, we outvoted him 2-1. So
I demand a recount. That's a very slim margin of victory.
It's true, it is. So our new topic every week, we're going to talk about a card in the game. Not necessarily one that's dominating, not necessarily one that doesn't exist in the meta. Just we're going to pick a card. And this week, guys, we're going to discuss Joust champions.
And to be fair, I was against this idea, so I picked what I could think of as maybe one of the worst cards in the game to talk about.
But we're going with it because I thought it would be great. So for those of you who don't know, Joust champions are a 2 movement, so they're a runner, 8 mana, so it's a wonderfully expensive runner. And for that 8 mana, you get 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, depending upon the level health. So an 8 mana 7 to face. The one thing that Joust Champions has going for it is that when it's about to attack a unit, it first does 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it can do up to 14 damage to a unit.
Up to 14 damage to a single unit, but if there are multiple units stacked together, because it does move 2, you can trigger that 3 to 7 damage before attacking multiple times. So in theory, you could get up to 21 points of damage out of your Joust champions at level 5.
So this one's a bit interesting, right? I mean, it's very, very expensive, but to get its full value, you want to try your best to trigger it multiple times. Because 8 mana, 14 value, 14 strength is kind of underwhelming for something that's 8 mana, right? I don't know. It's kind of weird because it only has 7 HP at max level. 3 at level 1. For something so expensive, you can't even use it as a heavy runner. This is just as strong as something like not Cabin.
Blue Sail, right?
Blue Sail, yeah, Blue Sail, or the Agents in Charge. And Agents even has 3 speed. So it's kind of weird that you can't really use it as a runner. It's more of a clear, some kind of board clear thing, but you gotta hope the enemy position their units or structures. It also triggers on structures, by the way, in a way that you can trigger it multiple times.
I mean, for structures, I think Siege Breakers is just so much more reasonably priced, no?
Oh yeah, and not to mention,
Siege Breaker doesn't work on units, right? So this has the flexibility, right? If you can make multiple attacks with it, if you can bait the enemy into positioning, or your enemy doesn't play around it because they never see the Joust champions coming.
Who does?
Then you can definitely get a lot of value when you're using it to clear. But to Arthis's point, it's ideally a defensive tool. It's not something that you're playing really offensively, because offensively it's pretty underwhelming for 8 mana.
Yeah, but I mean, wouldn't Twilight Prowlers just be a more generally useful defensive tool in the same vein?
Yeah, there are a lot of different other choices that do some of its features and strengths, but just better. Like this one seems to have a lot of like flexibility, but not really good at any of them.
Right. So the card that
So
comes to mind for me is Siren of the Seas, which is 9 mana
Oh,
and
good
has
point.
1 additional movement,
Mm-hmm.
and
but
it's
also
heckin'
a
strong.
relatively low base strength for 9 mana. Definitely not what you would be expecting. The difference is when Siren attacks into a unit, Siren just reduces the strength of the unit to 3. It doesn't matter if it's a 10 or a 15 or a 300 strength unit. Siren will take care of it for you, and that kind of reliability makes it better than Joust Champions. The additional movement makes it better than Joust Champions. And the fact that that Siren does not do the same thing to a structure kind of just doesn't really matter.
Also of interest, I believe Joust Champions would trigger like Hairy Chestnuts twice, would it not?
It totally would.
Yeah, and I don't think Siren does. I think Siren, when it acts like confinement. The reduce it to 3 just reduces it. It doesn't damage it.
It shows up in game as a damage effect. Like, it looks like the unit is taking damage down to 3 strength, but it's not actually damage, so it does not trigger Elders.
Oh gosh. So imagine doing something like playing Joust Champions into a Bucks. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh gosh, that would be terrible. Yeah, I feel like this card has been designed out of the game. That with elders and with the, potentially, I don't know the order of operations in terms of some of these cards being introduced, but I feel like the felines came after Joust Champions, right? So that means the Twilight Prowlers came after. I don't know if Siren of the Seas came after, but if it did, gosh, it seems like a lot of new cards came out that just were better versions of this. No?
It's a unique effect, though, right? The only cards that I can think of that do damage before attacking are Joust Champions and Terrific Slayers, right? Two
Well, there's
night
also
cards.
Windmakers.
Windmakers is a push and deal damage, like Elot,
Right.
so it's a
What
little
about
different.
what about the ones that attack everything around it when it attacks? But they
Oh,
deal.
Victors,
Victors.
Victors.
Yeah.
Right. So 3 night cards now, right? Between Joust Champions, Terrific Slayers, and Victors, they all do damage before attacking.
Mm-hmm. Them and Vindicators then.
Vindicators do chip damage before attacking,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
But
Okay.
not
Yeah.
damage to the unit.
Yep.
Right? Like Terrific Slayers does damage to a dragon specifically, but not to base. Joust Champions are more general, but again, not to base. Interestingly, Victors at the melee will trigger when they attack the base, they will still attack surrounding unit. The extra attack effect doesn't work on the base also.
Wait, that's true. I did not know that.
Yeah, it doesn't hit. Imagine if it did.
No. I knew it didn't hit face with the AOE. I didn't realize that it actually triggered the AOE when it attacked face.
Yep, so surrounding units will still be attacked.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's like, okay, that this Victor's in the melee. It's like 1 strength on my base. Okay, I can ignore it. Let me go block the second row. Nope, it gets wiped.
Yep.
Oh no.
Hopefully a mistake you only make once before you learn that interaction.
Oh yeah. But Subaiku hit us with the troll pick, so we're going with it.
Oh, so you were saying, Subaiku, that it's a unique effect.
It's a unique effect tonight, right? Like, I like that. It's something that the other knights do. I dislike the fact that it's kind of poorer than other choices. I think it would be too strong if it did this to base also as it attacked base. I mean, now you're talking about an 8 mana, 14-point swing at level 5 that can run through a unit at the baseline and still hit the base for a ton of damage.
Yeah, that would be way sick. Imagine there's a 5 health unit on the base. You're
And
playing
you just go soul crushers right through it.
Right. You're playing at platinum, so now you've just reduced your opponent. You've removed the unit from the board, and you've reduced your opponent to 3 life. Like that's and then your next turn, you just play level 5 overchargers. Game's over. Like, that's terrible. Yeah, I agree that it can't do it to face. Is there any other way that you could do something to it though?
I have no idea. Not gonna lie, but it's nice to put it out there. The discard needs some love.
Love, yeah. Look, it's 2021, new year, new Joust champions. Let's find a way. Maybe it needs to lose some pounds, hit the gym a few times, whatever it is, a little bit of betterment this year, and maybe we could see Joust champions getting some love.
This will be a challenge for our listeners. Whoever can put together a video of them using Joust champions effectively in a game, we'll give them a shout out for sure.
With Zuri decks out there, this is becoming a possibility for non-winter decks, because obviously with winter decks, you're going to use Chilled Stone Dames. For non-winter decks, Joust champions might be your counter to all those Zuri decks you're seeing. Give it a shot. Let us know what happens.
It's not terrible. The one thing I would say is that we talk about Twilight Prowlers. Level 5 Twilight Prowlers is 15 strength.
Sure.
For 6 mana.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to get a common up to level 5.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably going to be just as effective.
Oh, easily just as effective, but less funny.
Less dominance asserted.
So,
all right, guys. Well, that's going to end tonight's episode, which means it's time for me to remind you to please follow us on Twitter at Brewed Sages and email us at thebrewedsages@gmail.com. For Arthis and Subaiku, I am Freeloader. We are the Brewed Sages, reminding you to please stay hydrated.